We had great reviews Saturday night for the Westlake-Lake Travis game, and very, very proud that we were able to get two of the top high school teams, not only in our area, the state, but in the country to come, and it sounded like a great game. The crowd was super. There were great reviews from both sides, so hopefully that's something we can continue to do. We love to see high school football in DKR. That's just fun for us and fun for the community. You can tell it's game week. We got up at 5:45 for flex this morning. We took the field at 5:45, so the guys were up at 4 in most cases, and we do that for a lot of reasons. It separates some time that they practice today from tomorrow. It's like a day and a half now because we'll practice tomorrow afternoon, and a lot of the guys have Monday afternoon classes and labs, so it makes it more difficult. So we always practice Monday morning right after an open date. The first game's a lot of fun. The times here, they've been working really, really hard against each other, so our best players, most experienced players have been working against the most experienced players for the last 3 weeks, and you really don't know how good you are because one of your guys loses every time and one of your guys wins, so you walk off the field mad every day, and now it's time to go put your show on against somebody else. So we'll find out a lot Saturday starting at 2:30. This time of the year, there's a lot of hopes and dreams for everybody. Everybody's undefeated. Most people are really healthy. You're probably as healthy as you'll be throughout the year this week and for this ball game. So everybody is feeling pretty good about their team, and all coaches and players are anxious. Opening games are usually determined by turnovers and kicking game mistakes because you haven't done those things live for quite a while. And you've scrimmaged some, but you still can't get the intensity in some ways that you do when you're playing against someone else. Since we've been here, we're 11-1 in openers, and we're 3-0 at Reliant. We've beaten Rice there twice, and we won the conference championship game against Colorado. Historically, it's been much tougher to go on the road. Texas in general, when opening up on the road, is 21-10. So it's been much more difficult to go on the road and take your kids, and you have guys that haven't flown before. You've got guys, and this will be a bus trip for us, but you got guys that haven't stayed in a hotel. They don't know what pregame's like. They've never been in front of a crowd like this and national TV. So a lot of your young guys are having a lot of different feelings and emotions this week. We told the young ones this morning as we get ready to go over the depth chart that what you've done in high school and what you've really done the last 3 weeks does not matter unless you have a great week this week. So I go back over the fact that this depth chart is day to day, and this is where we started this morning, but we will go day to day. John Childs and Mike Davis are alternating at the flanker. Marquise and James Kirkendall are alternating at the third receiver, which is what we call sub B. And really, James Kirkendall would start if we played today at X, and Marquise would start at sub B, but they're both starters. And then you go down to the X receiver. James Kirkendall and Malcolm Williams are fighting for that job. So it keeps pressure on all of them. We did feel like that Malcolm was doing so much, we'd like to take some pressure off of him, and James has had the best camp of any of our wide receivers. So he can play a lot of places, and we're double teaching. So Marquise could play sub B or Z, and those 5 guys basically would be considered starters. At tight ends, you've got Barrett Matthews, followed by Ahmad Howard. If we just have a tight end on the field, the second spot could be Greg Smith, if he's not in there at the H-back. Go down to H-back as they're handing them out for you. Greg Smith would be the starter at H-back. Chris Whaley would be the backup H-back and could play some at tight end. At tackle, Britt Mitchell's a starting right tackle. Mark Buchanan's backing him up. Mason Walters is a starting right guard. Trey Hopkins is backing him up. David Snow and Garrett Porter at center. Michael Huey, Thomas Ashcraft, and we may or may not play Dominic Espinoza, depending on injuries, depending on Trey Allen, if we feel like he will be back. Kyle Hicks and Luke Pellman at left tackle. Your quarterback, Garrett Gilbert, backed up by Case McCoy. That decision was made because Case has handled the huddle better, and he's managed the teams and protected the ball better at this point. Starting tailback would be Cody Johnson. It would be backed up by either Fozzie or Trey. But we have talked a lot about Cody has come into camp. He's got his body weight down, his body fat down, and he's had a tremendous camp. Jamison Berryhill or Ryan Robeson would start at fullback. Fullback right now would be used primarily in short yardage or goal line. And we've also looked at Ryan Roberson because he was a high school tailback at Brenham. We've looked at him some at goal line tailback, short yardage tailback as well. On defense, Eddie Jones would start, and Jackson Jeffcoat would be his backup at defensive end. Jackson's had a tremendous camp. We're really excited about his progress. Keyston Randall would start at tackle, backed up by Ashton Dorsey. Tyrell Higgins, if we played today, would start at the other tackle. And that's we've moved Alex Okafor in, but he's in and out. He's playing all 4 spots right now. He's a very smart young man. He and Calvin Howell were slowed by injuries. So it'll be interesting to see what happens by game time. But that one's still a lot of competition for who will play. Sam Acho will start at the other defensive end, but we've been equally as excited about Reggie Wilson. Those 2 ends have played really, really well, and we're excited about their progress. Dravante Johnson would start at Sam, Emmanuel Acho at Mike, and Keenan Robinson at Will. They would be backed up. Dustin Ernest can play all 3 spots. Jared Norton is in shape. He's played well in preseason, so he will play at the Mike. And you've also got Jordan Hicks that will back up Keenan Robinson and be on a lot of kick teams. Your secondary is Shockey Brown, backed up by the 2 young freshmen, Carrington Bynum or A.J. White. We feel like we need them to play this year because we will lose 2 corners next year. We could lose a 3rd if Aaron decides to go out. So we feel like that young freshmen need to get ready to play and learn what to do. Blake Gideon and Adrian Phillips at the right safety. Nolan Brewster has asked that we try to redshirt him because of his shoulder. His shoulder is sore. He's not ready to play. Jeremy Hills has asked us the same thing on offense. We've told them and the other freshmen that probably will not play in this game that we do not decide who redshirts till after midseason, but we will give them the courtesy of holding them out of games until we see if we feel like that we could possibly redshirt them. Your 3 corners, Curtis Brown, Aaron Williams, and Shockey Brown are all starters. Kenny Vaccaro is a young man that is playing nickel and dime some too, and we've been impressed with him. Adrian Phillips would be the backup at that safety. There's also, of course, John Gold would punt today, but he's being challenged by Justin Tucker. Justin will kick off and Justin will kick. We do plan on playing Will Russ this year to get him experience. A couple of names that aren't on the depth chart that we feel like will probably play. Taylor Bible, we feel like will play before the season's over. Greg Daniels the same, and Darius White. They may play on Saturday, but we're planning on playing all 3 of those. And 2 other redshirt freshmen, Dominic Jones and Aaron Barnett. Aaron's been slowed by an injury as well. A lot of guys get banged up during camp and miss some time. I think if my math is right, there's 13 true freshmen on this list and 5 redshirt freshmen. So that's a lot of young guys. A couple of other things is Marquise and DJ and Deshaun Hells all have a specific package for them in the offense. We did not feel like it worked as well last year when every time DJ comes in, he is doing a certain thing. So we've got other guys that are involved. Marquise would be the first guy up in that package as we get ready for Saturday's game. Also, Curtis Brown and Aaron Williams will return punts. Both of them, they're so valuable in the punt block that when one of them's returning, the other one will still be on the punt team and he'll be up front, and we could possibly alternate those guys on punt return. In the kickoff return game right now, you would have Marquise Goodwin and DJ Monroe. The rest of the week, we'll finalize game plans now that you know who is playing, and it's a very, very difficult choice, especially when you've got this many young ones, to figure out how many plays each one can play in the ball game. So you're starting to work on substitution. David Bailiff's done a great job at Rice. Their coordinator has not changed on defense since 2008, so we have a pretty good idea of what they will do there. They're a 4-2 structure up front, and they blitz about 21% of the time, which is not a lot of blitzing from our standpoint. On the offense, they've got 2 new coaches that came in from Kansas. Coach Bailiff has talked about they love their offense in 2008 where they won 10 games. So We're not sure what they'll do. They've got 3 quarterbacks, and they're not naming one now. They've got Smith, the running back from up at Cedar Park, but they also have Sam McGuffey, a transfer from Michigan. So we're just not really sure what we will see on offense. They've sold, Rice sold the game to Reliant, but there's been over 56,000 tickets sold, and they will have Conference USA officials. Questions?
Coach, 13th year, where's the confidence level? I know in 05 you seemed very confident preseason. How do you feel going into the 2010 season, your 13th year here?
I'm personally very confident about this team and what they can become. The question will be their chemistry, their motto, every play, every day. Are they going to do that? Or will it be a team like in 06 and sometimes in 07 early that played up and down? So all of us can sit here and look at all the pieces. All the pieces are there. The experience isn't there, which we're not as concerned about. We can really run, but they can't play with complacency. They have to be excited every time they go out there. This is not a team that can win if we're not ready to play. So we will know that on Saturday. We'll see. So I'm waiting to see. This team's responded to everything very well. Will they respond on Saturday to being excited about the game, and then the 7th and 8th and the 9th and the 10th game when it gets more like a professional schedule, will they still be playing with the same enthusiasm?
Mack, a lot of true freshmen on the list. Can you just talk about the surge of youth on the 2 deep, and that's impressive.
Yes, it tells me that with the change in rules, and they can come in January, and you get them in June, that you can sign freshmen that are good enough to play. That wasn't the case probably 5 or 6 years ago. They could be good enough, but they weren't as prepared. Now, if they go through spring and summer, it's like a redshirt year. Even summer's a redshirt year for some of these guys. And the guys that aren't on this list either probably got caught up in a depth chart issue where there were too many guys at their position, or they got caught up in wanting to redshirt. Some guys just want to redshirt, and they say, Coach, I'm not ready for all this. Or they get really tired during camp. But we do feel like that there's not a sure miss in this group, which is unusual. As hard as evaluation is when you don't get to coach them and we can't even see them a lot, we do feel like that everybody in this group has a chance to play.
Does Cody kind of fit what you want to do with the offense? Are you kind of glad that he's emerged and done what he's needed to do to be in this spot?
We felt like in high school that Cody Johnson had a tremendous upside because of his power and his strength and his speed. He can catch, he can pass protect, he's a smart football player. He's had good ball security. Weight is a problem, and it's one that he's fought for 2 years. I mean, everybody fights it. It's unless God gave you good genes for not fighting it, you fight it. And he just decided this spring and this summer that he was going to take that out of the equation and give himself a chance to play. And he's looked really good. I hope he does the same on Saturday. I do want to tell everybody our philosophy hadn't changed. We just want to run the ball better when we run it. Everybody's talking about we're going to line up and run it every play. That's not going to be the case. We're going to do whatever we need to do to win. And we'll still throw the ball. We'll have no huddle the whole game. We'll be up-tempo. We want to be wide open, but we want to be able to run the ball and not lose yards when we hand it off.
Coach, this is Garrett's first start at quarterback. How important is it to just be able to have camp and make his mark and be the quarterback that people know from here on out, not just what happened in the game before?
Well, this is the first fair start for him, too, because it's been his team since spring practice. So coming out of the national championship game, he's worked very, very hard to make good decisions and drop the ball off and lead his team. So he's got a lot on his plate right now, and I'm sure his head will be spinning some by Saturday. But I think it's a good challenge for this team to go on the road and have to play an opener out of their comfort zone for the first time ever. So I'm excited about watching him play. It's funny, Colt has told him many times, be yourself. Don't do anything else but be yourself. Yourself's good enough. And that's what we will tell him, as you've waited on this your whole life. One of the players showed me a picture yesterday of him looking up to Major. And shoot, I feel real old now if Garrett was that little when we were here. But he is, we want him to have fun. This has been a dream for him. So to live your dream, you got to enjoy yourself and enjoy the moment. Not everything will work great. He's going to have some problems, but the way you overcome the problems is the way you win.
Coach,
How important is it for him to be successful, and how are you defining success for him this week?
Win. That's all that matters. Then you get to move to game number 2. And that's it. If you lose the game, you take a huge setback, and then you all over the place kind of starting over to figure out what went wrong. But if he will win, the natural progression is that a good team gets much better by the end of the year than they are at the beginning. And early games usually aren't pretty. The only really pretty game everybody thought we had out here, I think we beat New Mexico State 66-7 or something one year out here. And Lord, they had 8 turnovers. Everybody's excited. I thought we stunk, but they helped us so much. So I just want to see us line up and be fundamentally sound and have fun and execute and be aggressive for 60 minutes. That's what we're looking for.
Mack, with the offensive line, the backups, most of them fairly young. Have you guys discussed exactly how you're going to navigate through Saturday with those guys?
Well, we haven't. The biggest decisions we have to make this week are playing time. And that's with a freshman. You don't know how he's going to respond. You don't know if he'll hyperventilate. You don't know if he has to come off the field the third play because he just hasn't been in that situation. So offensively, we'll have to formulate. We'll have our game plan formulated. Defensively, we'll have to formulate a game plan during the game. Even their 3 quarterbacks, 2 are athletic guys that can run the option and throw, and 1 is more of a drop back traditional passer as a quarterback. So we won't know for sure who's going to play till Saturday. But trying to figure out how many plays a guy can play, when do you put him in? Do you put a second-team offensive line in early in the game? We've done that in our past. We've just got to look at that now and see if we feel like that's something we can do. What do you do with Case? When does he go in the game? Do you put him in early to try to get him experience? There's a lot of unsettling things this week that we probably won't decide till Thursday or Friday. Yeah, I know. That's why I look tired.
A couple more questions. So is there a little concern, though, with all the young
Yes,
guys?
lots of concern.
Because I know earlier you said experience wasn't a concern, but you look at all these young guys.
What about the youth? Yeah, youth is an excuse, though. These guys are good players, and they just need to go play. It's our job to get them in the right places. It's our job to teach them what to do, and then they'll get the experience. But I don't worry about them. We're turning them out there and let them go.
Coach, obviously there's a lot of questions going into a game. If you could have one unit play as well as you could ever have them play, which one would you pick?
Oh, special teams in this game. Field position, special teams. If your special teams can gain points in field position, the rest of it usually works by itself because that's the hardest one to do full speed. You can scrimmage, but you don't want Aaron Williams and Curtis Brown getting knocked out catching punts. And you don't want your starting punter to get hit if somebody's trying to block the punt. So it is harder to get game speed type reps in the kicking game in preseason than anything else. Backs have been hit, receivers have been hit, balls have been stripped, passes have been intercepted. The quarterback doesn't get hit, but other than that, you can scrimmage. So you can have a game. The kicking game, it's very difficult to do. So that's the thing that I would say in this one. If we come out and say our kicking game was really good, we've probably had a good day.
Mack, you mentioned you want 6 receivers. There are 5 on here. Is there a 6th and 7th guy that you want would be in that rotation?
Yes, you've got Deshaun Hells and Darius White that both will play. It's just there will be a certain rotation to start the game, and then we'll figure out how to put the others in.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.